let's think of the password and then we will be done with registration. So in password, we should have some restrictions. It depends on the application. In some applications, the password must be at least 6 characters, okay? This is good. In some applications, we have more than one restriction. For example, the password must be 6 characters. It should begin with a capital letter. It should have alphanumeric characters, okay? Numbers and characters or letters. So what should we do in both cases? So let's begin by the simple case, okay? So we have a simple password. It doesn't have any restrictions. So we have a case that's called empty password. We should leave the empty password, and in this case, an error message appears. So here, the same like empty email, we can say 17, sign up with empty password, okay? Leave password field empty, an error message appears telling the user that he can't leave the password field empty. Okay, we can have a usability suggestion here. So this is not a bug, okay, in the design, but we can say that it is a It would be much better if we have 2 fields for password and confirm password, because if the user entered a wrong password, he will not be sure that it is wrong, okay? In this case, when he tries to log in, the password will be incorrect, and in this case, he will reset his password. So the design would be much better if we have password and re-enter password under it, okay? So this is not a bug, it is a usability suggestion. We can suggest it to the designer. So here, we left the password empty. So let's think of that we have these restrictions on the password must, for example, be at least 6 characters. The second thing must begin or must contain alphanumeric fields, okay? Must begin or must also contain a special character and must begin with a capital letter. Some applications have these restrictions and it is very hard to test, okay? So in this case, we will think of the password itself as a scenario and apply the same what we did in the registration on it. So like we said in the registration, we had 4 fields, and in each test case, we made one field invalid and all other fields valid. So here we have 4 restrictions. Number of characters, alphanumeric fields, special character, begin with a capital letter. So in this case, we will have 4 invalid test cases. The first one, it will be not more than 6 characters, but it will satisfy all other restrictions. So it will be, for example, 5 characters, but it begins with a capital. So A, for example, it contains numbers and letters. So for example, this is a number and it contains a special character. So this is the first test case for the password. In this case, I am testing the number of characters. So in this test case, he will tell me you must have a password at least 6 characters. The second test case, it will be more than 6 characters. It will contain a special character. It will begin with a capital letter, but it will not contain numbers. So we can say Tariq, okay, and exclamation mark. So in this case, he will tell me the password must contain a number. Then special character, the same. This will be, so Tariq Roshdi, for example. So this is our password. It doesn't contain a special character. Oh no, Tariq 5. It has alphanumeric. It is at least 6 characters. It has a capital letter. The last password is, like we say, we can say Tariq like this. Okay, in this case, it is at least 6 characters. It contains alphanumeric fields. It contains a special character, but it doesn't begin with capital letter. Of course, the valid test case should follow all these restrictions, but these are 4 invalid test cases for the system. We will have 4 test cases. So let's write them together. This is very important while you are testing the registration or the password field, because it has some issues in security if there is a problem in it. So test case number 18, sign up with password that less than 6 characters, okay? And then we have sign up with password that doesn't contain numbers, then sign up with password that doesn't contain special characters, then sign up with password. Okay, let's move these because we might need them. These are our scenarios. Then the last one, sign up with password. We said less than 6 characters, numbers, okay, that doesn't begin with a capital letter. Okay, so let's fill them: 18, 19, 20, 21, then 18.1, 18.2, 18.3, 19.1, 19.2, 19.3, 20.1, 20.2, 20.3, 21.1, 21.2, 21.3. Okay, so then let's fill the fields. Less than 6 characters, let's write this one. So we can say enter this password in the password field. Okay, we have it. Then we say an error message appears telling the user that the password must be at least 6 characters. So like we said, we have high-level test cases and low-level test cases. Most of the time we used high-level test cases. We didn't specify the data that is used inside the test case. But in this scenario, okay, we should add the data. Okay, the data is important because here we need to test a specific case, which is less than 6 characters and that have a capital letter for numbers and special characters. If we leave it to the tester who will execute this, we don't trust him 100%. He might not execute the scenario in a correct way. The second one, it doesn't contain numbers, so let's take this one. Okay, so let's write this, and this doesn't contain numbers, yes. Okay, so here error message appears telling the user that the password must have at least 1 number, right? Okay, then special characters. So we have special characters. Wait, okay, it doesn't contain special characters. This one, we add it here, and we will tell the user that the password must have at least 1 special character. Okay, the last one, it doesn't begin with a capital letter, so this one. Okay, then a message appears that telling the user that the password must begin with a capital letter. Okay, so these are our test cases. Of course, these are not all the test cases that are in the world. No, like we said, there is no maximum number of test cases. We have a principle in software testing that's called exhaustive testing is impossible. It is impossible to test everything, but we are trying to test most of the scenarios. So like you see, the registration took us a lot of time. It took around 1 hour to write only the sign up test cases. But the good news are that in most of the projects, the sign up process is the same. So if we have a new project, like we said, you will take this form or this sheet, make a copy of it, and just perform test case maintenance, okay? Or like we say, test case refactoring. Refactoring means that we edit the test cases so that they are aligned with the new project. For example, these 4 test cases, you will use them in the same format, in the same way in all the projects that you will use in your life. You will not need to edit them. In any project that has restrictions on the password, use these 4 passwords. Okay, don't use Tariq, write your name, but remember that your name must be less than 6 characters, okay, to test the first scenario. And that's why it is not very hard to write test cases. So this is the sign up. So now try to write test cases for the login page. It is the same like the sign up, but with some differences, okay? So for example, when we say invalid password in the sign in, it means that this is not the correct password for this user. But when we say invalid password in registration, it means that it doesn't follow the restrictions that we have added.